I'm going to do a very, very brief overview of digital humanitarians and not get too stuck into the detail at this point, because I think it's great for you to see lots of ideas of what we're working on. I got into digital humanitarianism from about 4 years ago. I was airfield manager at Heathrow, so I worked the command and control structure for emergencies and incidents. So this is where my experience came from. And I suddenly came across this group of people that was doing this amazing stuff. And stuff is the only way to describe it. And it really interested me how I could help respond to these disasters around the world from my sofa, from my own front room. So I started looking at it from the volunteer side a few hours a week. Unfortunately, we should put a warning on this. This is addictive. Once you get into it, you don't want to put your laptop down because it opens a whole new world and possibilities. Right. Is it going to work? So obviously this is our beautiful planet at night as seen by astronauts on the International Space Station. It took well over 100 years for our planet to look like this. The first light bulb began to shine 134 years ago. Today, this map of our planet at night captures the pulse of our industrial heartbeat. But what if our planet were lit up by I'm not moving.
Can you swap this one?
Should I hold it? Okay. Okay, yes, today this is the map of our planet at night, and it actually we'll get this into a sentence. Is it working?
Right.
Testing.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, today this is the map of our planet at night. We've got there. It captures the pulse of our industrial heartbeat. But what if our planet were lit up by information instead of light bulbs? What would the pulse look like? Here's the first tweet began to shine only 7 years ago. This is a map actually showing social media, and actually it's Twitter in particular around the world. First tweet began to shine about 7 years ago, and yet the two maps actually look quite similar. It just shows how Twitter in 7 years has spread as much as a light bulb, if not more. Okay. So this is basically why they call it an information revolution. In fact, actually only 3% of all tweets are shown on that current map. It's just phenomenal to see how it actually lights up. But what if our world was lit up by human connections? Facebook connections. There are 6 degrees of separation between any two individuals in the analog world. In this digital world of human connections, the degree of separation has now dropped to 4. But what does all this have to do with humanitarian response? Are you all familiar with Twitter? Okay, there were 20 million tweets during Hurricane Sandy. But of those 20 million tweets posted, how many actually do you think were relevant for disaster preparedness? Let's have some ideas. Percentage.
1%.
How many?
1%.
1%? Yeah?
Even less.
Okay. Hmm. 0.001%. But in actual fact, that still means over 1,000 real-time and informative tweets, or 15,000 words, 25 pages of single-spaced, composed exclusively of relevant, actionable and timely disaster information. But how do we find those proverbial needles in a haystack? Finding some of these will make the difference actually between life and death, and the time is ticking. Information is perishable, just like apples, just like news. No one wants to eat rotten apples, so why would you want to consume rotten tweets? If you have accurate information that is hours old, you don't have accurate info in the world of social media. You also have old news to tell you what happened, not what is happening. Tweet from Patrick Mayer. Patrick Mayer and Jen Zeke, how do you pronounce Jen? Created crisismappers.net, fantastic organisation. And it's really worth going online and doing some searching for Patrick Mayer and some of his work. Okay, that's Twitter. It gets worse though. At the last count, there are 38 distinct social media channels, and it's still growing every day. Disaster-affected communities are increasingly turning to digital communities. Humanitarian organisations are completely unprepared to deal with this. It's a completely new way of working. They're used to arriving on scene and going to areas and giving out what's needed. 9 times out of 10, they're going to areas with water. And these people have got so much water but no food. And then they're going to people with food, with more food, when actually they need water. So we can start doing the investigating before the first responders arrive on the ground. A great example was the Philippines last year. I was very fortunate to have co-led the activation for the Philippines with my colleagues Sven Jonas and Brendan over here. Sven Jonas and I were actually at the UN when it was announced that we would reactivate. So it was very unusual to actually be working with many of the players face to face when usually they're on the other end of the computer. So UNOCH decided they would lay down a bit of a challenge. They needed critical information. There were no situational reports in the outlying villages. It was just information in the main towns. They wanted to know where they could deploy people to, what the needs were, etc. Who needed medical help, food, water, power. And it is the old scenario again of people needing water, getting food, etc. So I launched over a year ago, the Digital Humanitarian Network began. This is the biggest group of superheroes in the digital humanitarian world you will ever meet. The skills of these people are amazing. Groups, volunteering groups comprising of Standby Task Force, which we're very fortunate we are part of the core team. Humanity Road, they will capture instant information and complete documents that will feed out to people. Frontline SMS, which is a texting service which will enter straight into a platform, which I believe you're going to see later on, the example of one of the crowd maps. OpenStreetMap, Map Action, Translators Without Borders, Geeks Without Bounds, Statistics Without Borders. There are so many different groups doing so much work together. And with us all coming under the Digital Humanitarian Network, it's beginning to focus on the people, the actors in that area, and what they do and how we all can complement each other. Okay, Mission Impossible. Back to you and Ocha. So they decided to tell us that they needed, for the Philippines, they wanted us to collect tweets. Fine. They wanted us to collect images and videos. Yep. They wanted us to geotag them. Not a problem. They wanted it in 12 hours though. That became a problem. One of the tools that we've used is, and it's an up-and-coming one, is microtasking. Lots and lots and lots of big data out there. So much information. And you cannot read through 20 million tweets to find the information. So we're very lucky that we have some very clever people that can make platforms and systems that we can operate to make it easier to filter out the relevant information and the accurate information. Because you do actually get quite a lot of inaccurate information, surprisingly. So this is one of the tools that we would use. You would go to the internet, you would see one of those pictures, and all you would have to do is tick the boxes at the bottom. Picture of damage, video of damage, location. And it's automatically categorised them for you. If it's location, you then can go into geolocate it, so it will bring a map up. You find out where the location was from the tweet, and you click it straight away onto the map. One situational awareness report done. The information is then fed to the personnel, in this case Manila, government, etc. So the first responders, one of the examples with the Philippines was World Food Programme. We actually fed them the information to be able to go out to the outlying villages to find out, to give the needs and what was needed, the power, food, health, etc. And if you actually look in the media, from the day it happened to 4 days later when the first responders actually arrived, using all the data we'd supplied, you could see unfortunately, the death toll going up before they'd even got there, because we were able to identify the issues. This was history, 6th of December 2012. The first ever map produced by OCHA, purely from accurate reports from social media. And we're very, very fortunate to have various departments within the UN who believe in the benefits of what we're doing. Will this play? Going back to time-critical approaches. Hurricane Sandy, the worst ever hurricane to hit New York. You may have actually seen this dramatic footage of Hurricane Sandy on CNN. Of course, that was a fake video taken from a Hollywood movie. And of course, this is fake too. One of the many pictures shared on social media during Hurricane Sandy. You don't need a computing expert to tell you that's fake. But actually, what if you saw that picture first? Would you have automatically thought that was fake? If you remember the classic fake picture of the dog getting the piggyback, we have to work out what's real, what isn't. With micromapping in particular, the information that will go through the internet will be verified by 3 different people of the picture they're looking at. You can set it to 5 times, 10 times, whatever. So as long as you're getting the same answers from the same questions, you're actually going to see the verification process. Thanks to a few good digital Samaritans, there already is an incentive to do this kind of work, but these individuals actually work alone. What if we could crowdsource truth during disasters, crowdsource evidence? We need to start doing this now. This is a very, very new concept, new in the terms of technology. The possibilities are endless, but we need to find what opportunities out there for us to expand. How you can use these tools, the media, how they use them. We need to start looking at whether they're using it accurately or not. How NGOs use them, how they communicate to each other. Do they know what information we can supply? Do we know what information they need? This is still a massive, massive learning curve and the beginning of a journey. But it's a very, very interesting journey to be on. And if you get time to spend on the internet, start looking it up. Look up Standby Task Force. See the work that they've done. It is phenomenal. And the amount of lives that we've actually saved. We've worked on the Chicago blizzards, for instance. That was a very great activation. That was people displaying what they needed help with, and then people in the community offering help. So someone needed to get their medication, but they were snowed in their driveway. But then there was someone around the corner that had a shovel and time, and they were happy to go and clear all their driveways. Just a very simple matching tool. The London Olympic deployment, we actually started that 6 months before the Olympics. We pre-plotted on the map all the locations of every venue, where the rendezvous points or shelters we think would have been most applicable. And then we closed that down, but it was also hidden under the surface. And then we used the day-to-day map, so the general public putting in traffic issues, congestion, tube, accidents, etc. But if there'd been an incident, they were familiar with the format, and we could have flipped it over, and they'd automatically see rendezvous points. The World Health Organization became involved with us. They wanted to get on board, which was fantastic for us, because they wanted to start having access to identifying clusters of sickness. Because if you start getting large areas of sickness, you've potentially got dirty bombs, things like that. So people are learning now the possibilities, what we can use this information for. But please, we're here most of the day. If you want to have a conversation, anything in particular, raise it. There are so many parts of this, it's very hard to go into. We just want to give you a brief overview of the possibilities out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Justine.
Thank you.
And please note your questions. We rush through these 3 presentations. Then we will have a break where you can mingle and talk and discuss with these people.